what the Supermarket Guru consumer panel had to say about home gardening, and what's wrong with marketing to the pint-sized consumer, and all about alternative grains. For the week of April 25th, 2011, this is Food News Today. Good morning. Immediately following Food News Today, we continue with a live chat discussion below. Please sign in and join us. Food News Today is sponsored by ConAgra Foods, who shares with me the desire to provide the most current, interesting, and unbiased food news. Last week, San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee signed into law an ordinance that will expand urban agriculture in that city. They're changing the city's planning code to allow for the sale and pickup of fresh food that's grown on site, to which urban gardeners who have wished to sell their goods rejoice. San Francisco may be the first city to dissolve the agricultural zoning codes, which previously has restricted home growers and somewhat larger operations to sell their goods to local restaurants and markets if not in the zone. But zoning restrictions have not stopped home growers to put up gardens across the country. We turn to the Supermarket Guru consumer panel to find out about home gardening practices. 79% say they grow vegetables, 78% say they grow herbs, and 39% grow fruit. Why is gardening important to America's shoppers these days? Could it be the increased focus on sustainability and protecting our environment? Are consumers more concerned about pesticides or the nutritional value of their foods? Is the recession leaving some families, particularly those in food deserts, with no choice but to start growing their own fruits and vegetables? The answer to all of these questions is yes. In our consumer poll, we asked, why do consumers garden? 74% say they do it as a hobby. 69% feel the food tastes better. 62% maintain a home garden as a source for food. 60% feel their homegrown foods are more nutritious. 57% feel their garden saves them money. Now, 43% feel that their garden allows them to take part in conserving energy and taking care of the environment, while 43% use gardening as a fun and learning activity for their kids. With gardening as such a popular hobby and important source of tasty, nutritious foods, and now in San Francisco, a source for income for some gardeners, it's time we all get on board and we realize the importance of home gardening. Gluten-free and wheat-free are gaining some real legs in our supermarkets. Breads, crackers, and cookies are notoriously known for being wheaty and containing gluten. So if these products do not contain wheat as their main ingredient, what do they contain? And is this wheat-free fad going to stick? Research suggests that about 0.1% of the population has a wheat allergy. Approximately 3 million Americans, that's 1%, have celiac disease, while up to 6% may have a gluten sensitivity. However, the majority of gluten-free consumers, that is about 15%, are eating gluten-free foods for other reasons. So when these consumers are looking for gluten-free wheat alternatives in grain and seeds, what are they actually using? Now here's a few of the most nutrient-dense selections. Quinoa is an ancient grain, actually a seed, that was originally cultivated thousands of years ago in the South American Andes and known as the gold of the Incas and the mother of all grains. Sorghum is America's third leading cereal crop and in many parts of the world has traditionally been used in porridge, unleavened bread, cookies, cakes, and couscous. Now it's making its way into the gluten-free aisle as well. Amaranth also dates back hundreds of years to the Aztecs in Mexico. Now you may not have heard of teff, but teff is an ancient North African cereal grass, and it's said to be the smallest grain in the world. About 100 grains are the size of one kernel of wheat. Buckwheat is another fabulous ancient seed, and is in fact not related to wheat at all. It has a mild flavor, but roasted or toasted, the flavor intensifies. Millet is also considered to be an ancient grain, and possibly the first cereal grain to be used for domestic purposes. Millet is considered to be one of the least allergenic and easily digestible grains that's available. Now, by no means does this list include all of the gluten-free substitutions, but does contain some of the most popular. Corn, rice, almond, potato, and tapioca flours are also popular gluten-free substitutions. educating consumers about wheat alternatives is definitely worth our while, as the gluten-free market is here to stay. Now, for more information about the nutritional value of any of these specific grains, click the information link or visit SupermarketGuru.com. Consumers come in strollers these days. Yep, the marketers are turning kids into pint-sized consumers, most often against their parents' desires. Never before have parents found themselves up against such a difficult opponent. A $17 billion children's product industry that focuses entirely on captivating the attention of their kids. And while children may not have much money themselves, they can be incredibly influential. Just think about screaming, begging, crying, and having tantrums to get what they want. Now, when it comes to their parents' spending habits, a lot can be done. Earlier in the week, I interviewed Adam Hanft, a regular blogger for CNN, The Huffington Post, Fast Company, and The Daily Beast. He's also the co-author of the Dictionary of the Future and is founder and CEO of the marketing and branding firm Hanft Projects, working with such brands as AT&T Wireless, Scotts, Reuters, Viacom, AOL Time Warner, and Hertz. Now here's what he had to say about pint-sized consumers. So Adam, tell me, why should a retailer or a brand even care about selling to the pint-sized consumer?
Well, the pint-sized consumer represents more than pint-sized revenue and potential profit to marketers today. Kids are a huge, huge opportunity, whether they're a little bit older and actually have some discretionary income that their parents provide for them, or whether or not their parents buy it for them. They're a huge market and growing, particularly in certain demographies like the Hispanic market. So in times of tight economic circumstances, when retailers and manufacturers need to grow their business, the pint-sized market is an obvious place to look.
Over the past 20 years, there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of strategic plans built around the idea of the lifetime value of a consumer. Is that still accurate?
It's true. It used to be you had a customer for life if you got them early on when the imprints are made. But if you look what's happened for a variety of reasons, including the internet, including changes in demography and psychographics, consumers remain much more experimental as they get older. So, for example, baby boomers. It was thought for a long time that boomers would remain very loyal, but the data shows that boomers are much more brand profligate than anybody thought they would be, and in fact are experimental. It's probably a way of them proving to themselves that they're still in the game, and you can't count on them. When you look at Gen Y, they pride themselves on making idiosyncratic, quirky brand choices and rejecting a lot of the baggage of the past. So I think we're going to move into a landscape of much more brand volatility, much more shifting loyalties, and the predictable customer for life model, just like the job for life model, will probably go away.
Let's go back to that pint-sized consumer. A lot of companies are very concerned about the advertising and marketing to kids. Lots of laws are being enacted, lots of discussions taking place. Where are we right now?
Where we are now in terms of marketing to kids, let's look at that through two lenses. The first lens is the message, and the second lens is how the message gets distributed, the content being the first. So clearly, in the food category, I'm sure you know everything that's been going on there. Childhood obesity, too much sugar in products is a huge issue. It's not just an issue that's centered around the more sophisticated upscale buyer. It's now broadly disseminating itself throughout the culture. So there's no question that food companies are under enormous pressure to take sodium out of their products, to take salt out of their products, to take fat out of their products, to put more whole grains into their products. That's pretty much an unstoppable trend. On the other side, there's pressure as well for big packaged goods companies, traditional CPG companies, to get out of a lot of the marketing channels, Saturday morning, Sunday morning TV, or Saturday morning TV, I should say. So they're under pressure to pull back, and some of them have. I believe General Mills has, Kellogg's has. They voluntarily said, we are not going to put as many commercials out there as we used to. But I think the next level really is whether or not these companies will take the step and become advocates for healthy eating.
Let's say you and I went into a kitchen. We came up with the perfect tasting, healthiest product available for kids. How should we market it?
So I think we know what works in terms of motivating kids, and that is putting brands out there in association with other entertainment properties that resonate to them. And that's what McDonald's and others have known for years. That's why they do tie-ins going back to the Star Wars days. So nobody has really tried to take products that are better for you and use those same kind of marketing affiliations and affinities that have worked so well for the other side of the equation. So that's what you would do. But I think what you have to recognize is that it can't just be done by the food companies. Parents have to take responsibility too. If parents are going to reward their kids with unhealthy things or bribe them, in quotes, to get them to do their homework with unhealthy foods, and that imprint is made, then whatever happens out in the marketplace is going to be undermined by what's happening in the home.
So Adam, I'm now giving you the power to change one thing in our food supply as it relates to kids. What would you do?
We've got to change palates. There's a lot of research with adults and children that shows you can, over time, get people used to getting more pleasure out of healthier foods. But if you're brought up on sugar and salt, and those are the stimulants that you react to, it's going to be a big shock if you take those out right away. So what I think we need to do is look at this as a process over time to get people to learn to derive pleasure from the right kinds of foods.
For Food News Today, I'm Phil Limpert. Thanks for joining us.